Well, welcome to ISO Talks number 20. Can you believe it, Tantles?
Can we believe it? Oh, no.
I feel like I'm 22 years older since we started doing this, but, you know, 20 episodes we've done.
Yes, yes. And I'm working through my friends list, everyone, on my
All right.
on my Facebook.
All my friends have left me. I don't have friends anymore.
Yes.
This is it. You guys are my friends tonight. I'll pay you to stick around. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. We have a very diverse bunch of people here tonight, and this is our first one on the managers. So it's great to see you here. Thank you. I've chosen you for your diversity and your intelligent, well, I hope so, intelligent, busy working people of our industry. Like me, you create your own industry. Some of us do have the nous and ability to create work, but many of the others, the worker bees, don't. As you will see, I think we all have something of interest to give the Australian entertainment industry. It's new and uncharted territory, but we as Australians are used to uncharted territory. Just ask Lindy Chamberlain. You see that episode? Those episodes, wasn't that amazing? I thought it was incredible. But I'd get off the track there. Let's not focus on the past. It's over. It's done. Let's focus on ideas. What's going to work for us? What's going to work for you? We've been in a state of flux for a while now, expecting the government to relax the laws or expecting life to go back to the way it was before COVID, and it's a bit unrealistic to do that. This pandemic and all its implications, especially towards the arts, will most certainly continue to wreak havoc on our industry. COVID times will be a marathon, not a sprint, and we have to be prepared for the long haul. We will continue to focus on helping musicians by talking to other musicians, venue operators, industry professionals, and people connected to the government. Your perspective about the current situation will be of interest to others. What have been your challenges? What has worked? And what needs improvement? We're going to have an open discussion. If we get a chance, you can give me an idea of something you've seen online or something you've looked at regularly as a recommendation to people. This is something that I've pinched off Rob Rhodes, as always. I've pinched this whole idea off Rob Rhodes. So anything that you've seen, let us know. But I'm going to hand you over to Tandy at the moment. She's going to introduce each one of you. Hi, Tandles.
Hello.
I'm going to try and fix Twitch because Twitch isn't working at the moment. So I'll let you do that and I'll fix Twitch.
Yeah, yeah. So someone was saying I was on mute, but I think I'm okay now.
Yep, I can hear you.
That's good. You can hear me great. Yeah. Oops, I'm on mute. Uh, so first up, we've got KL, or Karen Lee. Many of you know her as well. She's the CEO Director of Entertainment Consulting. Has a 360-degree knowledge of the industry from management, promoting, touring, including record labels, publishing, and sync deals. The company is Australian partner of Results and also an agent for Saraton Theatre in Grafton. So welcome, KL. Great to have you here.
Thanks, guys. How you
Yay.
going?
Thank you so much for joining us. Then we have Ilan Pijon. So he's a rock star, music maker, frontman of the Pop Bellies and Glass Breakers. Also has been songwriter for such artists as Tina Arena, Vicky Lee, Emma Pass, and as an arts and culture creator of the Danera Project. So welcome, Ilan. Great to have you here as well.
Peter for having me.
Yay! All right, and then Rob Rose, he was a guest on our very first ISO talks back in March, and as Pete said, he was the inspiration for Pete to conduct this series. Um, Rob is a self-managed artist, but he has also had hands-on experience running entertainment venues, and he also has his own weekly talk on Wednesday nights called The Musician's In. So welcome, Rob. Thank you for coming back.
Great to see you, Tim.
Great to see you. All right then, Pete, off to you.
Such an inspiration, Rob, and I mean that sincerely. Thank you. Hey, I think I'm live to Twitch now. We had a late start. This is the first time we've ever started late, Tandy, on anything.
That's right. We were very, very, very particular about that.
Yeah, but that was a nightmare. But I think I've just gotten onto Twitch, so we're live on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. Guys, thank you for being here. I look, as you may or may not know, I kind of manage myself. Tandy gives me a hand with some things, and it's been, I know what it's like to just manage myself, let alone trying to manage somebody else. I remember years ago, Tanty, I, and a couple of other like Bryden Stace and Miranda Stace and Anna Kyprios started a management group, and we realised pretty soon that it was going to be a tough, hard job. It is a really hard job. Uh,
Excuse me, Pete. I've got comments saying people can't hear us, so let's just have a look. I know that you can hear us.
ah, that's interesting. Let me just check this. Oh, that's crazy. Why not?
All right, we're just working it out. Thanks.
It should be easily hearing us. Keep speaking, Tandy.
All right then. So we are. So we're just. I'm just saying to everyone here. I'll just post the. We're working on it.
Yeah, nah, yeah, just working on it, folks. Sorry, I can't believe this is the story here. Okay. Oh, I know why. Okay, let's try this. I show you. Nah, we still don't have it. You know what? This is stumped me today. I can't believe this.
Okay.
Give me a second. Give me a second. I'm not going to give up yet.
They're getting spill from your mic.
I know they're getting that. That's right, but that's not what you need. Let me try this, and then we'll try something else. Speak for me, Tandy.
All right then. I'm speaking. I'm looking. Saying to everybody.
No.
Getting back to you. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for letting us know. So nothing.
No, nothing. Bear with me, folks. Bear with me, folks. And I thought I had it all together so well and good. And I've got nothing there. Let's go out of my output. Let me try this. I've got you now.
Apparently he's got the idea though.
There you go. I've got you now.
Kale's got the idea. I saw that.
I'm
What
so
was that?
sorry, folks. It's like to get this going, I have to do.
It's medicine. It's doctor's orders.
So Tandy, will you go through that again, please, just quickly with the
All
there's
right.
3 things that went wrong all at once. Then, so I've managed to get you all
Yes,
back online now. People
I've
can hear
got.
you
I've
now.
got claps. Claps means it's really, really
That's
good.
great. Go and hit us again with the rundown, the introductions, please.
The introductions. Okay, so we have KL, who's the CEO, Director of Entertainment Consulting. She has a 360-degree knowledge of the industry from management, promoting, touring, including record labels, publishing, and sync deals. The company is also a streaming partner of Les Autres and agent for Saraton Theatre in Grafton. So thanks, KL. Thanks for joining us. Great to see you here.
Guys, good to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. And next up, we have Ilan Kidron. He's rock star, music maker, frontman of Pop Billies and Glassbreakers. Also a songwriter for such artists as Tina Arena, Ricky Lee and Emma Pask, and also the arts and culture creator of the Danera Project. So thanks for joining us, Ilan. Good to see you here as well.
Tanty, thank you, Peter. Love the show.
On you
Yeah.
guys.
Great. And we have a return guest here, Rob Rhodes. Rob Rhodes. Rob was on our very first ISO Talks back in March, and also the inspiration for this series here, because he runs his own forum on Wednesday nights called The Musicians Inn. But Rob is a self-managed artist, but he's also had hands-on experience running entertainment venues. So thanks for joining us, Rob, and thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
back.
Bit of a deja vu there.
Yes, I know.
Rob, only you know how hard this is, don't you?
Yeah,
You know how mad
absolutely.
this is, trying to stream and do all those things at once. And I've got you know what I'm doing now? I've got a screen coming this week that's an ultra wide that'll go above it so I can put things up there because I've got so many things going on at once.
Wow.
So you understand how crazy this all is. And as in fact, you are the inspiration for this show, this one in particular that you started The Musicians in such a long time ago. Look, thank you guys for being here. I am, as I said, I manage myself. I do get some help from Tanty, who does wonderful work with me. But all my life, I've managed myself. What is it all about? What is the role of a manager? And what is the role of somebody like yourself, Rob, who's a self-managed artist? Let's go with KL first. What is the role of a manager? And you can give us as basic or as complex as you like, KL.
Look, it can start from anywhere, from being your best friend to your roadie to your stylist to your hair and makeup, armpit sweat on a video shoot, right through to your business manager, your legal advisor, and your psychologist. So it's pretty much everything. You run through the gamut of all emotions, creativity, business side of an artist, and you can be as, depending on the relationship you have with the artist and what their needs are, how well advanced they are in their career or their understanding of certain assets of the industry, you can be as hands-on or as hands-off. So it really, first thing is to find out, where the artist is at in their career and what actually needs to be done to further them.
Is that a main criteria? Is that an artist has some background that's been successful?
Look, it really comes down to the manager as well, what they want to do and how much grunt and grind they want to do. I mean, a lot of new managers coming into the industry would probably be more than happy to work for 2 years for no money. 20% of nothing is still nothing, and that doesn't pay the bills. And the capital and return in the industry is certainly not there now where it was in the 80s and 90s when I first started in the industry. So really, the reliance is on touring and synchronization, and sync is, and Alana would know, really well, if you get it, it's fantastic. But often that can be a rare occasion, for some artists, and the value of that has also diminished over the years as well. So, I find there's a lot of great new managers coming through the system who are happy to, be that 360-degree manager. For me, I know what I want to do, how I want to do it, and with whom I want to do it. But the years of me starting with, an artist from zero that hasn't already possibly tried to educate themselves, whether that's going through AIM or any other those areas there, because I've got 3 divisions to the business.
Right.
I can't. Well, there's the management division, there's the touring division, which is massive now, and the venue consultancy side. Well, I've been with Brian Lazot for 12 years. Saraton Theatre's just new, and there's 2 other venues that have contacted me in the last week.
Do you have other people working for you?
I have contractors come in when I need them. Yeah. So yeah, other than that, I kind of just do it myself. So I've been doing it long enough. Pretty much. Yeah, I'm kind of a 16-hour-a-day person. So
yeah. Well, I was going to ask you, but you've answered it. Will you, or have you taken on somebody that has no experience?
I have in the past, when I first started the management division 22 years ago, I did. And, we got record labels with the majors and all that sort of stuff, and publishing deals. And, but, it's a tough gig. It really is a tough gig. Yeah. And it's a 1% gig too. There's only 1% of artists and 1% of managers that actually get that return. Yeah. And everything else underneath that is kind of, rats and mice. There's not a lot in there. And that's why you find too, a lot of managers, well, they have to have more than one artist, because there's, especially if you're springboarding out of Australia is still only a 25 million population. It's a very, very small market to make a decent return out of. If your artist pops overseas, then of course, that works. But when that happens, you've got 2 options. You JV a management deal with someone in the US or the UK, because they're on ground. So you have to split your commission, or you ramp up your own internal staff, which then, jacks up your overhead costs as well, and sometimes that can be, short-lived, especially in this day and age where music is track by track now. It's not albums, whilst they're fantastic. And for people like me, I still love getting into an album because I find songs that I actually prefer better than a single personally. But it's all song by song now, and streaming downloads started it, streaming's escalated it. Yeah. And the frequency of releases is now anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks. And if you release an album, Spotify and streaming DSPs don't want to know about the rest of the tracks on the album once it's released. So you're best to just go track by track and release the album at the end.
Absolutely. And let me ask you before I move on to Alan, do you have to believe in the artist before you take them on?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Do you have to believe in the artist before you take them on, or is it just totally?
Oh, for the blood, sweat, and tears, if you don't believe.
Have you ever taken on somebody? Have you ever taken on somebody that you didn't quite believe, but you thought you could help them and make some money?
I've never done it for the money. actually, I never did it in the beginning for the money. I'm probably more focused on the money side of it now. I'm not getting younger, and other areas of my business are a lot more profitable than the management side.
Yeah.
So I'm very cautious about where I invest, and I think too, one of the things that, and this is certainly not a gripe at all for any artist, and I think one of the best things for an artist to do is actually spend a day in the office with their manager from 8 or 6 in the morning till 5, just to actually witness what they do, how many phone calls they have to go through, how many people they have to chase up, the traffic controlling for even just to get a video shoot when you've got so many moving parts, photo shoots and things like that, just to actually fully understand what a manager does. That's the first thing an artist should always do. I've been a consultant, paid consultant for artists. And that was very clear guidelines of what the role was. I can't work on something if I don't believe in it. It's just a waste of time. I'd rather go and shoot pool in the lounge room than do that.
KL, it's interesting. I still to this day, at the ripe old age of 60 this month, have people coming up to me going, so you're a night owl and you just do gigs at night? Is that all you do? It's like, man, if you knew what I did during the day, because I manage myself, you know what it's like, you know what it's all about. But if people really knew what I did all day, they'd go, how do you do that? Because it's not like 16 hours a day at least, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Some people go to work and they answer emails. I get them at all hours of the night. Listen, Ilan, tell me about your side of management and what sort of things you look after.
Yeah, so, well, firstly, Peter, thank you for having me on the show. Tandy as well, wonderful. And Rob, I've watched your show. I watched the Jared Masters episode, just I think really recently.
Yeah, cool.
And KL, we've been kind of hovering around each other. So it's lovely to be on a panel. Well, I mean, I've never managed an artist. I've always had a manager, actually, from a young age. Firstly, just with the mate at school who couldn't play an instrument but had a kind of business mind. And that lasted a little while. And then my mum took over for a while as well. Didn't really know what a manager was. Nor did I. And then now I've been with my manager for, I guess, about 13, 14 years. And I've always surrounded myself with people who are a lot better at me at the things that they do, and I think management, it's just that from that day to day, as KL was saying, to the big picture stuff, it's just such a broad thing. And when times have been flourishing, my manager who was doing day-to-day and the big picture stuff was able to hire someone else to do the day-to-day and then, attend to the really important, well, it's all obviously important. Everything from being a babysitter to in fact getting on board creatively. I've loved having Miles as someone to bounce off songs, send him songs at any hour of the night, songs that I've written for the Bellies or for other artists. And, he'll give me an honest response,
So is that mostly your work is songwriting now?
No, actually my work has turned, well, I mean, I still write about 100 songs a year, but that's just with lots of different artists, or, I'll occasionally write one a month probably on my own, but I'm not writing anymore. I'm not really accepting writing gigs unless it's with the artist, essentially. I'm not just writing with people for the sake of writing. I'm writing for projects, specific projects. Which I love. I love having a good pitch and just writing for writing's sake. I don't care. A song's a song when it comes from the heart. Yeah. I started, I guess the turning point was COVID, when as soon as I realized I wouldn't be gigging, and I don't want to go into what I've done during Corona. A few people have done that, haven't they, Peter?
We've done that a bit, yeah.
But I basically turned into, a songwriter for $75 an hour for people. Anyone from homeless kids to 75-year-old widowers, and it's been the most unbelievable adventure. writing with non-musicians as well. It's been unbelievable. I can't tell you the stories. So.
Yeah. Well, as you know, like we met while I was doing a lot of advertising, and most of the guys that are involved in advertising don't understand music, so you understand that. Let me ask you, do you think that you could do what you're doing without a manager?
What I'm doing right now, which is kind of being an arts and culture director for a website, yes, of course. But as no way. I need my ass wiped, man. There's no way. I'm too mental. I've just got my head in. I've got stuff going on everywhere. No, I definitely need a manager to harness me and to give me compliments. I need that.
Yeah. Thank you, Ilan. Rob, you manage yourself much like I manage myself. Tell me, what's the role for you? What do you have to do to keep all this working? And would it be better if you had a manager?
No, because the income isn't there to really allow for somebody's time. I wouldn't ask somebody to, do this for free. My whole inspiration for becoming self-managed was because it was so poorly managed in the past. And I thought, this guy's taking, or girl is taking $150 from every gig, basically for a phone call or an email once a year and filling a calendar. And it was just like, they're not listening. They're not really doing anything other than putting things in the calendar. And I'm talking purely from a cover musician's perspective. So I got very limited experience with original music. And I just sort of went, well, this is, I'm not moving up. The money's not getting better. I actually don't know what the money was at the time. So this way it gave me complete control to bargain with each venue based on the success that we were having. And so, it was just land on your feet, whatever it took to get a gig, then do everything it took to get a rebooking, and then work hard and try to get a pay increase. That's really the thing, is to have a clear idea of what your goals are and work towards them, and be prepared that that's going to take being on call 7 days a week.
I think if you're like me, it's like we need a PA more than a manager. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, my wife's my accountant, so she takes care of all of that stuff.
Right. Well, I pay expensive. I pay a lot of money for an accountant. I think everybody else does too. So, what about what is the role of the artist, and what is their duty in the relationship? KL?
Sorry, you just completely cut out.
Okay, what is the role of the artist, and what's their duty in the relationship? Are they expected to come up with product all the time?
No, look, I think, again, it's so individualized, and that's what the beauty is about music. Not one artist is the same as the next one. I mean, there's artists that I've worked with, and there's been a lot, I've managed everyone from Denny Hines for 10, 12 years, The Church, Ricky Lee, Tanya Kernigan, Amber Lawrence. We just number one on a radio chart today. We've been together for 13 years now. And it all starts and stops with what the artist understands about the industry, how much they actually want to do themselves, but also, are they capable of doing certain elements of their career themselves? There's artists I've worked with that says, I can do that, and it's clear that they just can't. So without hurting their ego or pride, you've kind of got to say, look, we need to go down that road and bring this person in to make that work, that end goal work. Again, it's all very individualized. Sure. There's not one glove that fits all. So yeah, I mean, this, as I said, there's some artists that I've pretty much done 200% of everything. They've just turned up and sung.
Yeah.
And that's from creating. That's actually from sourcing in the songs all around the world to create the album in the genre mode direction that best fits that artist. And flying around the world with them, doing songwriting sessions and all that sort of stuff, to others that are really, really well equipped know what they're doing, know who they are, and they come to the table with 50 songs and say, right, here's what I feel really strong about. These are my favorites. These are my A list, my B list, my C list. And then we'll go from there and workshop it internally, create what that means as part of where they are in their career, as far as, because every album and every song to a degree, if you want to be a career artist, is a stepping board. It's all part of your story. It's all part of your journey. It's like getting another tattoo put on. And I always call music and releases a tattoo. And I've always said to artists, if they're a little unsure about a song they're putting out or choosing that photo to go with that song, I always say, what about your tattoo? Because once you put it out there, you can never, ever, ever take it back.
That's right.
And it will always be found by someone and thrown in your face. Another analogy would be to call it the John Farnham Sadie effect. You know, you can never get away from that song.
That's right.
It's part of his tattoo. And so I always say to an artist, make sure with, you know, whatever you're doing, that you can live with it in 10 years time. Put yourself in, close your eyes, see yourself in 10 years time and say, can I live with that decision? Whether it's their decision or a manager's or a record label's decision. And if they can't, no matter who says it, whether it's from Dennis Hanlon right through to George, Ash, any of them, or your manager, don't do it. Because all those people will go in your life and your career at some point in time. You'll get dropped from the label or they get removed, but you've still got that tattoo. So, you know, the artist has to be involved in every single decision. They have to be able to live with that decision, but also be flexible enough to trust. And that's the biggest thing with management and an artist is trust. That is the fundamental principle that is there. Money's one thing, but if you don't have trust, you do not have a relationship. Because if the artist doesn't trust what the manager is advising them to do, it's just not going to work.
With the nature of people being creative, is it, you know, a lot of artists fucking stupid? Are they kind of mindless with where their career is concerned? Is that a thing that happens? Because let me speak from experience from some of the bigger people that I've worked with throughout my career, that I find them a lot of them have no idea about where their career is going, and when things fall off, and especially people I worked to that were big in the 80s, 70s and the 80s, and when things fell away and they were left kind of holding a baby going, I don't know what to do with it. Where's my limo? Are artists pretty hopeless at looking after themselves?
Look, yeah, and again, it depends on what, if I've worked with an artist that knew nothing other than having that lifestyle because their career started very young. They were very mollycoddled by record labels and management. They were given everything they asked for on their rider. And then when things started to really, really, really slow down and the phone wasn't ringing anymore, they were lost. They didn't know what to do. And part of the manager's job is to re-engineer that artist and create new avenues, whether it be in music or a triple threat being, you know, stay in music, but also do some musical theatre or then do some TV or radio and things like that. I've also worked with artists who have come off the reality TV shows and had no experience, zero, with the industry at all. And they're complete and utter, not mess, but just lost when they come off because they've had this instant fame where they can walk down the street and people know who they are, to then all of a sudden within 6 or 12 months later, and loving that attention, and 6, 12 months later, like nobody knowing them, and they just crave so much for that attention again. And to try and explain to them that it's not going to come back, it's not going to come back quickly, and jumping on the next reality TV show, whether it be Celebrity Get Me Out of Here, Dancing with the Stars, or whatever it is not going to solve the problem. So there's artists that go into the industry for fame, and I've consulted for some over the years, and I've managed some, and soon found out that they weren't their authentic self. If you can't be an artist true to yourself as an authentic, you won't survive. This industry will chew you up and spit you out. There are 40,000 songs released every day in the world. 40 fucking thousand. And you're trying to, you're one of that. Yeah. If you can't be your authentic self and stay on your path to cut through and also have a long-term plan, get out now. Take your money, go to Randwick, you've got better odds to get a return.
That's right. And it's really interesting you say that because lately I've been, delving into the Twitch and streaming idea, and it's something that has come up to me that I have to start being authentic in what I do. You know, and I mean, what I mean by that is I have to be happy with the way that I present myself, the way that I play, rather than pretend to be something or somebody that I'm not. And it's really, really interesting that you have to take that on. I wonder how artists that have no skills in dealing with people, which is what I do with all day here, is deal with people, on the phone and etc. Look, there was something else I wanted to get onto, but I'll get back onto that with you in a second. Ilan.
Yes, mate.
How do you go about, like, what sort of things do you do to look after yourself that a manager doesn't have to do?
Quite a few things, I guess.
Well, give us an idea of what that consists of.
Well,
Because
first of all, like,
a lot of people out there
is
believe that a
very
lot of people out there think that a manager basically just does everything, like KL just said, mollycoddles them and looks after them and does all that. What sort of things do you need to do to have a manager? What's the manager expect from you?
Well, I mean, Kale's right in the sense that all artists are different. There's no doubt about it. I think the role of the artist, however, has changed throughout history. I mean, in the 50s, all that artists needed to do was to look good and sing good. Your Elvis Presley and your Frank Sinatras, and they got up and did their thing effortlessly. Then the 60s came, and all of a sudden you had to be an original songwriter. The Beatles, Led Zepp, Joni Mitchell, and the artist evolves. And the 80s comes along, and of course you need great videos. You need awesome MTV videos, flash. So not only do you have to look good, sound good, write your own material, have your own video clips. Come nowadays, not only that, you have to be your own PR master, marketer, online, social networking guru. So as much as your manager is there to help, they can't help with everything. And as an artist, you do need to be on top of basically all of those things. Yeah. You have to kind of, when I say look good and sound good to a degree, but you sort of need to be involved in your own material that you're writing. And you certainly have to be part of, focusing on your visual stuff, and videos and whatnot. I thought the other thing that was really interesting that Kale said was that, always listen to yourself, your own self, because you're going to be wearing that tattoo in years to come. Now, with my biggest hit, we fucked around with arrangements. Sorry to swear, I don't know whether it's one of those forums where you're allowed to do that, but we must have put together. We must have put together 20 arrangements for Don't Hold Back. And one of them came back from our A&R and our manager who'd put together this little arrangement. And in the middle of the song, it just broke down to the guitar on its own. On its own. And I thought, if they put this out, I'm leaving the band. It's the dumbest thing I could ever imagine. Why would you be going up this elevator feeling good just to drop down into nothing? Nothing? And of course, that was the lick, and that was what made the song. So in a sense, I had to let go at some point as an artist. And had I really done what you're suggesting, KL, as an artist to do, I wouldn't have a tattoo at all. I'd have a tattoo. Dickhead written across.
The other segue to that is never let an artist choose their singles. Rule number one.
But you're right.
Record companies and management land. Never let the artist choose the singles.
But that's why I'd never have any joy with a record label. That's why, because I just reckon, I think that a lot of people that come up with those ideas are just other ideas. They're just opinions. I mean, I could be completely wrong, and maybe I'm not the sort of artist that needs a manager, because I remember when I released the Poindexter album, and I was looking for management. And first of all, nobody knew what to do with me because I don't sing. I'm a guitar player. I sing badly. But as a guitar player, I was trying to make a career as an instrumental guitarist, like Tommy Emmanuel did and all that. And I went and saw a number of artist managements, and they kind of went, we don't know what to do with you. But the funniest thing is that I rolled up with a pack for everybody, with everything that I'd done, with everything printed beautifully. We're talking about, 10, 15 years ago. And they kind of went, wow, this is a lot of stuff. We don't know what to do with it. So, yes, very interesting to find out that there's certain people that do need management. Speaking of that don't, Rob, what are the sort of things that keep you? I mean, like, have you had to learn how to do the manager's job by yourself, or have you had lessons, or things like Photoshop and being able to kind of deal with a venue and create relationships with the managers of the venues that you play at. Is that what you do?
Well, look, I started in hotels, working pubs, managing hotels. They were all entertainment venues. So I got sort of a back door sort of look at how the industry worked as far as who was booking, who was doing what, riders, contracts, all of that sort of stuff. So I got to see all that. Then obviously doing accounting and admin, I got to learn MYOB, all of the accounting software. And then you start doing your own posters and your own in-house design. So I think I started on Corel and I learned how to use Corel. And then from Corel, it went to Photoshop. And I just kind of bury, I'm like you, Pete. I just bury myself in something when I want to learn it.
Yeah.
And, you know, back in the day, you would just sit there with wasting so much time. Now you just go to YouTube and someone shows you how to use it, which is what I'm doing with photography now. And it's just kind of like, no, just learn on the job. Everything was learn on the job, self-taught for everything. And then just realize that everything is a learnable moment and a teachable moment, that you can take that with you wherever you go. So it's all of that experience from hotels and as a performer and entertainer got me a job in customer service at a bank. And, you know, that didn't work out. Although, you know, I tried to give people money back instead of taking it, like I did when I worked in a pub. And that worked for a while. But look, everything you can put on a resume, and it doesn't have to have a piece of paper attached to it. You just have to be able to display those skills. And all of those skills come in handy every day in my job, whether it's booking a gig, talking to a venue manager, an agent, or designing posters or promoting and marketing my gigs that I've got coming up, like all those sort of things. And it's not ever resting on your laurels and saying, oh, I've got all the skills now. I'm always looking for something new, whether it was this platform when COVID broke, or now I'm doing animated posters instead of, you know, stock 2-dimensional posters and promo for the gigs. And I'm doing my own soundtrack music underneath the gig posters and just all that sort of stuff. So it's just, how do we do this? And I'm promoting my Tweed River Cruise gigs at the moment by going down and taking photos of the Tweed River. So then I don't have to use stock photos or pay for stock photos. And I'm doing my own. And then when I'm on the cruise, I'm taking photos and just trying to make all of that stuff's experience and trying to make it look like it's something that people want to be a part of. Because FOMO is a massive thing these days, because people are at home so much and are being bombarded with so much marketing that if you've got this glossy thing that you can sell to get people out of the house, then you're well ahead of everybody else. And that's just what I'm trying to do, is create an experience within an experience.
Yeah. And you've kind of hooked into an area up there that is really suitable for you too, isn't it, really?
Oh, it's killer, man. It's baby boomer central, and people love it. The Gold Coast, sure, we got to battle noise restrictions. That's a big issue that it's hopefully everywhere. Will slowly be undone. It looks like some governments want to do something about that. But you know, like when you get to play on the coast in every surf club from here to Harvey Bay to people that just love the music, it's like, I'm absolutely blessed. I've worked hard to get here, but I don't take it for granted, I tell you.
We have a number of schools in Australia, music schools, where they teach management courses. KL, are they a waste of time?
No, I think they're great for an entry level, but nothing can ever replace the hands-on, real-time experience. So, I mean, if anyone is doing JMC or AIM, I think they should try and do an intern somewhere with a booking agent, manager, or record label, just to get that, you know, that hands-on. Because, I mean, you know, I got a marketing degree and all those sorts of things, but what these books don't tell you is what to do in a fucking crisis. You know, they really don't. When you've got a worldwide release date and something's happened to the master, and there's all these little things, that happen in various areas of the industry that can happen.
You mean like you've got an 8 o'clock? You've got an 8 o'clock start and something goes wrong with the cast of service.
Yeah, exactly. Or an airline, I've had tours where, we were on a very tight schedule regardless, and then the airline loses a guitar, and then you're sort of, I've begged things, I've got shops to open up at 10 o'clock so I can go in and grab a guitar off the shelf, just to make something happen. So that's what books don't tell you. And that's what academies and those things, they're things you learn on the job, and how to process that, how to do it without totally freaking out. Once you go through one of those things, you're prepared. It makes you check and balances for future tours or future releases so much more detailed, so much more stronger. Triple checking, double checking, or allowing a little bit more time, from the flight to the sound check, and all those sorts of things where you can inbuild them. So yes, they do have a purpose, but there's also that real life experience that can never it can't replace that either.
Yeah, I think for somebody like myself and Rob and possibly everybody here is that when you're looking after yourself, you kind of go, well, I need to do a poster, and I've taken artwork along to an artist, and they've come back with something I just think is garbage, and I think, well, I'm paying you $300 an hour to come up with garbage that I'm sure I could come up with something better myself. So I've basically just, like you say, Rob, you delve into it and you find out things yourself. Like what's happened in COVID is, as far as learning OBS and learning that OBS sounds like it's a catchphrase now. It's like learning something new about streaming, or learning how to promote yourself, which is something that I've done for ages now. There's something that I do as far as my posters are concerned, is they're not real great posters, but everybody that sees them knows it's me. Do you know what
Trademark.
I mean?
Trademark.
They're not like Comic Sans or New Times Roman fonts, But people know that that's Peter. He's got some good photos. You know what it is, and I think it's something that I've just had to do by necessity. What about with the saturation of music, artists, and social media? Is it viable to have a manager, Ilan? What do you think? Especially if you're just starting out.
Well, when you're shrooming in a strip club at 3 a.m. and you got to get a flight at 6 a.m., absolutely.
Done that before. We've all done that before. Oh, you haven't? Oh,
Me?
oh no, I've never done that.
Was that getting the manager out of the strip club or you?
I think we were probably both in there. I don't know. Look, my relationship with my manager it's not a 360 thing with him and I. Him and I have, we've started a kids group, a band, and anything to do with the Potbellies and a couple of other things he plays a part of. But actually my covers gigs, which I love doing, I'm obsessed with weddings and corporates, things like that with the glass breakers. He doesn't play a part in that. And the other good thing about my manager is he is actually not broadened his management to too many artists at all. And
that was going to be my next question.
He doesn't rely on me for income, which is just fantastic. Although obviously anything he gets off me, I'm sure is blessed. But he's also got other things going on in his life. So he's not a full-time manager of me, and he's not my full-time manager either. So we've learned how to do it. For a while he was, and then it was just like, no, look, it's just, we figured out our relationship more or less, and we love each other very much. We talk about, well, actually he does have boundaries. He doesn't talk about everything with me, which is kind of good as well. But yeah, we're good mates. And
so how many artists would he have? How many artists would he have at one time?
Oh, look, actually now he's only got 2 artists. Right. But there was a time where he was managing 6 artists, but never too much. He'd only ever have 1 or 2 people on board with him running the whole show. We had a great label, indie label, and, we always had a kind of good relationship with our publishers.
What about KL? How many artists do you have at the moment?
Yeah, you're a monster.
Management, I have three, two Amber Lawrence, two in the country space, Amber Lawrence and Christy, which is like full management, and Monique Montez, which is kind of like consultancy part-time management, and most of you guys would know Monique as well. So she's has spent many of the years on cruises, because that's obviously great money for artists, but wants to before COVID, she actually wanted to get off for a while to spend some more time with the family, and then COVID hit and obviously forced off. So I mean, the management side, I scaled that down. I mean, years ago, I had there was myself. We merged the company with Encompass and Mark Morrissey and a number of others at Fox Studios. And at one stage, I think we had 8 artists under management and 12 writer producers as well. That was back in probably 2000 to 2005. And then with the writer producer side, with the advent of Logic and everyone doing so much home recording, the necessity of having external producers and mixers, and the fees that they got just like plummeted overnight. It was just like they got 1/10 of what they used to get. And so I got to the point where it's just like, I felt really bad charging, even though I was doing all this work, I felt really bad charging a commission, the management commission, when their fees are shit anyway, So I kind of just said, guys, you know what, I'm here to help just on an ad hoc basis, or we'll do it contract by contract, because I got a legal background. I do all the contracts as well, but not just a blanket commission across the board. So, and then I just winding that down. But I mean, over the last 10 years, the tour agency, more as a promoter and agent and producer of shows, is kind of where the exponential business for my company's grown, in the likes of Marina Pryor, David Hobson, McClymonts, Dami M, Anthony Kalea, Tommy Fleming from Ireland, and a couple of concept shows. And those concept shows have come off the back of musicals, featuring the leads of the musicals. So once the musical's done, I then take that into a concert version on the road, because it's already got an existing brand and, all those sorts of things with it, and the venue side. But I mean, unless it was a really amazing artist or person that I really believed in, I can't see myself taking on too much more with management.
Yeah.
It's an 80-20 business, 80% of effort for 20% return. Yet the other divisions of my business flip the model a bit more, I mean, it's still a lot of work, but the return is far greater than the management. And
you're also looking after venues like Lizottes as well, is that right?
Yeah, so Brian and I have done a lot of partnership stuff over the last 12 years. So we did the cookbook together, the CD series, helped him open up and close DY, and King Cumber was, the lease had run out, and it was such a small venue, there was never going to be any profitability for him. I had business advice in different areas of his business as well. I'd sort of jump in and do a review and sort of say, okay, well, I reckon you can add an extra $1 on every coffee, and look what that does to your margin, And then when the COVID thing, sort of hit, and it was just like, we spoke about streaming, and then we spoke to various different partners, and there was a lot of people knocking on Brian's door, and he got a little bit frazzled but excited, and he was like, shit, where do I go, where do I turn, which is the right way? And I just said, breathe, calm down, we'll just process it, go through everyone, and then make the right decisions from there. And as I said, we went down a couple of rabbit holes that were like, that's interesting, but then realized, no, that's not going to work. And some other people had, their intention was more about money grabbing and running off, I guess, the Lizottes brand and Brian's standing in the industry, as opposed to, all of us jumping in. I mean, none of us are earning much money out of the streaming side of it yet. It's an investment, it's a build phase. And one of the things we realized too with the streaming side, one is that's one of the bonuses that's for me personally out of COVID, is that I've learned the whole new digital IT side of the industry, which I didn't really need to know it in depth. I need to know the basics before, but not as in detail and as in depth as I do now. And
it's a good thing to know.
It is, yeah. Well, exactly. There was a lot of late nights. There was a lot of bottles of wine drunk, and there was lots of swearing going on. And then it was like, okay, get my head around it. And then, I'm a numbers person, so I run everything by P&Ls. And if the P&L, I always say, numbers don't lie, people do. So if the numbers work, let's go ahead with it, because everybody else is just going to bullshit you and blow smoke up your ass anyway. So let's just make the numbers work and move forward. And we had, 5Stream in Melbourne came to the table. We were a brilliant company. And we really made a mandate that for any investment we were doing in streaming, we wanted to spend that money in Australia for Australian companies going to Australian pockets, not using US streaming platforms, which aren't that great and secure privacy-wise and that as well. We wanted to keep as much money in the country, and brought in Duncan from the Filmery, who some people may know, who's done a huge amount of country music videos and in the industry. And we all just dived in. And last week we had 2 Jimmy Barnes shows, which just went through the roof, and the feedback we're getting from customers about the quality. And that's outside of the artist being happy, it's quality delivery. And
so can I ask you how many people you might get for a stream?
Oh, look, again, it comes down to the artist and the artist appeal. Obviously, Jimmy, the numbers are going to be huge. And then others. What's
huge?
Oh, I obviously can't disclose figures.
Okay. All right. Well,
over 3,000-4,000.
Okay, great. That's all we need to know. That's good.
That's paid, and this is the big difference, right? And I've been doing a lot of. I brought Ticketek in to do a bit of a marketing campaign a couple of weeks out. Now, this is interesting. A lot of people don't know when they look at, that person's got 500,000 Facebook followers or likes or whatever like that. That doesn't convert into ticket sales. That's a freemium platform. It's a big myth. Ticketek's conversion ratio is 0.46.
Yeah.
That is the ratio. So if someone says, I've got X amount of followers, do a 0.5 ratio on it. And that's what your potential sales, whether it be streaming, downloads, album sales, or whatever. And that's now pretty standard across the industry, which is, under 1% is the conversion rate. But look, the problem with streaming is we're competing with Netflix. Well, music's been competing with, and live gigs have been competing with Netflix for, since they started. But also people's understanding about how technology works. Paul, Brian and Joe have been smashed on the phones, and Suze as well, in the lead up to a show, with people going, I've got my ticket, how do I make it work?
Yeah.
So that's
KL, I still get people saying, turn the bass up.
Can I just say to you, KL,
saying that 1K is too hot.
1K is too hot. Yeah.
Can I just say that I bought a ticket for the Lizottes diesel one to watch online.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say that was fantastic. The experience from how they walk you into the venue and seat you at the table and looking at the stage. That was a brilliant touch and just made me like it was immersive. And I just want to say congrats to you and Brian for that. It's great.
Well, I watched Nathan Cavalieri do a live gig on Saturday night, and he was up at a place at Newcastle, just him and his mate on guitar, the little duo, and they only played for an hour. But it was amazing because what he does, is he talks to the audience beforehand, and then he gives the phone to somebody and she sits it, and then she goes around to the audience and does all that. And then at the end, they come back and they go into the green room and he's still streaming. He sets up another light and talks to people. And it's an amazing experience. It's a beautiful experience. And he had easily 1,000 people watching at one time. Let me ask you, at what point does somebody need to get a manager? Who does need a manager? Ilan.
Tag, you're in.
At what point does somebody need to get a manager? And we're going to wrap it up really soon, guys. So I'll just I've got a couple of little things I want to talk to you about. But, at what stage does somebody go, I need a manager?
Well, I think
when did you need a manager?
I guess it does depend what you're doing. I like Rob, actually, possibly not to the same extent, but I've needed to learn how to use Photoshop, which I really enjoy using, by the way. I like taking my time to do that. I've needed to learn to edit my own material and really get stuck into certain things. Where I become really unstuck and where I start falling asleep is when it's got anything to do with money or legal matters. I just go blank to an extent. Again, I'm getting better and better at it. But I think when it comes to that sort of thing, if you've got a, left brain or right brain or whatever the fucking brain you've got when you're writing music, and you're deficient in some areas in your life, I mean, it's a personal question. Personal question. I mean, for me, I need help with business and I need help with legals, because it makes sense to a certain degree, but I want to protect myself. I want to protect my art. I want to protect my family. When it comes down to loving yourself and admitting where you need to fill the gaps, in your life. But I'm also not saying that a manager's just there to fill the gaps either. They're there to be, everything, as well as, that, I'm very, very thankful for the mentors and the managers that I've, had. And, and they're not just there when you need them. That's the important part. They're there when you also don't need them as well. And they're coming out with you, and you're also social on a certain level. But I also think that what Rob's got going on is possible for bigger artists as well, that aren't necessarily just doing Rob, full credits for what you do. It's fantastic. But if you're an international touring artist and you can handle it and manage yourself, I mean, are there artists that do that? I don't know. I mean,
well, let me ask Rob, what sort of things what sort of advice would you give somebody that's at that point now where they're realizing they're getting gigs and they're actually making it their career? What advice can you give them to pull it together?
Time management skills are really important, and having a schedule. I'm terrible because I will take a phone call or answer an email any time of the day or night, because I kind of understand that email is just not going to me. It's going to 20 other people. And if I answer first, I get the gig. So being prompt without it being too invasive in your life is really important.
Yeah, but just on that point, I find myself, if something comes in, I kind of go, well, do I want it? I'll answer it now. Or if I don't want it, I'll let it go. So you've got this kind of slide rule that works.
Yeah. And money's important. I've seen a lot of managers, like band managers, get in trouble because they take the money for everybody and it goes out before it goes to the people who earned it. So fellow band members, PA operators, whatever, even commission to people that you're supposed to pay commission to. So I have a rule that as soon as the money comes into my bank account, whatever's not mine goes out straight away. I see what's mine. And then there's that trust thing with everybody that you work with too. They know that they're getting paid. And I'll share a little story about when I took over the entertainment at the Narrabeen Sands. I really tried to build that venue up back to, what it was. It would never get it back to exactly what it was, but at least be known as a quality entertainment venue. And so I called on everybody that I knew to come play, everyone I knew who was good. And, from Lockie Dolly to Krishna Jones to, you name it, I had them there. And I had some very good friends tell me that they wouldn't play there because, I'm not going to mention any names, but one agent took 10 to 12 weeks to pay. So I made it my first job when I took over to find out what the pay cycle of the group that I worked for was. And it was pretty much if the payment was invoiced prior to the gig or on the Monday, the payment was processed within 5 working days from head office. Right. So that means the agent had the money for 9 weeks, minimum 9 weeks. So everyone's sitting there, and anybody who's self-managed or anyone who plays music for a living knows that you live gig to gig a lot of the times. You're sweating on that little piece of what you get from every gig. So for someone to hold on to it for 10 weeks, who's, the venue made their money and you've earned the money, so pay the people the money. So it's really important that everyone understands what payment terms are.
Yeah, well, I'm going to give you a counteract to that.
Okay.
If you want to have a look at what the session world is like, it's minimum 3 months. It really is. It's always so musicians need to also learn to have a bank account and get it working, because most of them don't. Most
Absolutely.
like you say, live week to week.
So that's another tip I'd have is you be good with your money. Understand, I do a thing with my phone bills and electricity bills where a little bit gets paid every week, so you don't get bill stress.
Yeah.
So when the bill comes, it's like $17.
Yeah.
And all of those little things. are really important, to understand what money's coming in and not do that, not live paycheck to paycheck.
Let me ask KL, like people think that a lot of artists make a lot of money, and some do, but some of the smaller ones, I mean, that's right, 1%. Well, see, I work on a 7% principle, KL. I work that if I invite 100 people, 7 might come.
Fair enough. Does it work so far?
Well, it kind of works. It's travels around that. It's gotten a little bit better as the years have gone by.
Yeah.
But because then you focus on your audience, you get focused audience response. What is the responsibility of the artist to make themselves grow? I know I've asked this again, but I think it's really important. What do they have to do to help you out?
As Eliane touched on before, social media is obviously, it's everything now, and on every TikTok and whatnot. And some artists have third parties manage this, big artists who can afford it, or they're too busy and touring and whatever around the world, and they don't have the time to be creative and do that, and they'll have a third party, and you can often tell it's a third party, but just the language, you know.
I was just going to say,
it's like Donald Trump yesterday going into this Twitter frenzy in capitals with no spelling mistakes. You could tell it's not Donald Trump. Yeah. He doesn't do caps, and he fucks up his spelling all the time. So it was a third party. It was quite prevalent that it was a third party. So you need to be authentic, right? And if that means you do use a third party, you really need to educate them on how you want to speak. Certain keywords that will identify you as the person, that become a little bit of your Jamiroquai hat brand, if you want to call it. So social media is the biggest thing, because that is so relentless. It is so relentless. It's just impossible for a manager to do that and everything else, you know. So I don't go near social media. I mean, we put a social media schedule together when we're rolling out announcements or releases, so we know what's dropping, what date, what's the messaging. But I don't physically do it because I just don't have the time. So that's one thing that artist definitely has to do. Be prompt, be polite, be courteous, leave your ego at home and bring your manners with you. The industry's not like it was in the 80s, where you could be an arsehole and arrogant and ego and get away with it. No one will put up with it anymore. No record company, no venue, no media person. It's not rock and roll, and it's not cool to do it anymore. So there's that side of it. And I find 99.9% of artists are like that now, you know. That's by the by. And also too, have realistic expectations about where you sit in the industry at that time in your career and the people around you. So yes, the people around you are going to work their butt off for you, but you can't command 200% of their time. And be respectful of the team around you, personal time. When I first started management, I was available 24/7 to my artists, to the point that I'd get messages at 2 a.m, and it was just because they were having a bad night. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? I can't sleep. Call your mother, call your sister, call your brother.
Why am I? You deal with that.
So I had to put my foot down and say, guys, the office hours are from 10 till 6. I'm up at 6 because I need that 4 hours of admin or whatever it may be in the morning. But unless it's ridiculously urgent, then text me, and then obviously we'll sort out what it is. So there's all those sorts of things, but a lot of it's just human decency as well, and respect. And, you know, I don't work with someone who's not like that. So, and I don't care how good they are or how many gazillions of records they would. My mantra is, life's too short to work with arseholes.
Absolutely.
So
you and I get great business going together.
Back to the old Dragon days when you were playing with them and I was your publicist at BMG.
Now, when was that? That must have been in the 90s or something.
It was early Bondi Road.
80s? Would have been 80s, 90s.
Late 80s, early 90s.
Late 80s. That's
we
right.
were at Strathfield offices and we moved over to North Sydney.
So who were you working with?
Leon Concannon, Stewie Rubin. Yeah.
Wow,
all those
isn't that amazing?
Oh, those were your young years.
Yeah.
That's right.
You were involved in the MTV special. Were you involved in the MTV special?
Sorry, what was that?
Were you involved with the MTV special?
I was, yeah.
Well, that was one of the first gigs that we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've got all the footage of that. It's on my, it's hilarious.
I do specifically remember being backstage at the Revesby Roundhouse after, and it was just, and Mitch was on drums, and it was wild. I thought, wow, this is really scary, but I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was wild, wasn't it? It was a crazy time. Crazy times.
They were the good old days where there was expense account.
Well, we were in limos everywhere. We were on a retainer, like an amazing retainer every week, whether we played or not for the year. You know,
I know, right? I know.
Incredible
times. The days. I mean, and that's the bad thing about the music industry, and especially for musicians in that sense, and I do have a lot of empathy, is that the pay has not gone up. If anything, it's gone down in some areas. And, you know, if the Australian government, both state and federal, and Murdoch media to some degree, gave as much emphasis to the arts in Australia as it does sport, as much funding to the arts as it does sport, we would have an enormous export market. We've proven it time and time again by the uniqueness, Lan, with your music and pop bellies. But, you know, from Midnight Oil to Savage Garden, even on the pop level, Men at Work, our music is so unique. It does cut through overseas. And I always say that to artists here in Australia too. Don't try and copy someone that's on the chart in the US. One, they're 6 months ahead of you and you're 6 months behind by the time you get it out. Yeah. And they've already got 1,000 of you over there. Why would they want Ice from Eskimos? Yeah. You know, be unique. The most successful artists in Australia do not sound like anyone from overseas. And that's why they're successful.
Yeah. Well, that
be your authentic self and you'll cut through.
That gets back to finding that part of you that is authentic, and finding the part of you that is real, and being open about who you are and with your audience, being who you are with your audience, not having somebody else doing your social media. You know, that's such a blatant thing. When I see that, I just go, oh, why would a punter even follow somebody like that? I don't understand that. But anyway, look, this has been great. We're way past the hour. Tanti, have there been any wonderful questions from all the gorgeous people that watch us every week?
Well, first up, I just want to say, you know, the first 15 minutes was about sound. So apologies to all that were involved in that.
Okay, I've got to explain something to everybody here. That this is the second time that we've used OBS to go direct rather than just, and for the reason being is so that I can do things like this and this and this and have video and etc. and other multimedia stuff. So normally if I just go via, it's not easy. That's all I'm going to say. It's not easy, ladies and gentlemen. For a guitar player that wiggles his fingers up and down a piece of wood with bits of metal on it, it's not easy.
Yeah. So we had to have a few starts, and there was comments about Pete's volume on his mic and so forth. So I've hoped that that got fixed up in the end. But yeah, thanks for hanging in there, everyone.
More bass.
Everyone. Now there was some questions that did pop up, but I'm pretty sure we've covered them about, you know, how do managers learn to do what they do. I doubt there's a TAFE course. Well, there are courses, but as KL said, a lot of it is on the job and experience. And Jim Hanna asked, what do you do when the master goes missing, KL?
Well, it doesn't get left in the back of a taxi anymore.
Oh, look, some of the stories, you know, first thing, well, back in the day, in those days, it'd be calling Don Bartley at 3:01 going, shit, have you got it back up? Can we come pick it up?
Yes.
And when they were international releases, generally someone would fly out from the US. We're talking Michael Jackson level.
Yeah.
They'd fly out from the US and the briefcase is actually handcuffed to their hand.
Yeah.
And they walk through the airport, obviously go through everything like that. Papers cleared. I mean, you know, the big releases, but you kind of, these days, fortunately, there's so much digital backup, or even, you know, the 2-inch tape got spliced right in the middle of the mix. I mean, Jesus, what do you do then, you know?
Yeah.
So there's been retracking and,
well,
you know, yeah.
I just know even
just deal with it.
Being on tour with Pete, you know, just some of the things that have happened, and you do a lot of it. You can't, it can't come out of a textbook or in a course. And it's being in tune with your artist.
Tanti, will you go into my second bathroom and get the iPad for me?
That's right.
Oh, I remember playing on Sunrise with somebody, and the manager came up and said, "Did you guys learn the song, like how to play it, not just mime it?" And I went, "We sure did." And he went, "Good, because we can't find the proper backing track
That's awesome.
for the performer's vocal." And I went, "Yeah, well, that's no issue, man, but we haven't rehearsed as a band, and you got one massive problem." And he said, "What's that?" I went, "See all the amps and the drums that have no microphones on them?"
Yeah.
And he went, "Oh shit, I better find that tape then."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Carry on, Tandy.
And from Paul Todd, he said, we're currently bombarded with live streaming globally with COVID-19. But can you guys recommend an artist or a live stream to watch?
Yes.
Yes.
Peter Northcote every Thursday night. So I've been doing it for 22 episodes now. It's amazing. We have the best singers in the world, best singers in Australia. Actually, we have Peter Millwood this week, and Dario Bortolin from the Baby Animals is back on with us this week, and Fabo Madej and Tandy will be there. So there's one great recommendation. Anyone else?
All right. Rob, anyone that you'd like to recommend?
Well, early on, I was loving Grace Potter's live streams from her living room. They were pretty amazing. And Sheryl Crow has been doing some great ones too. So I'm going to champion the ladies tonight.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Well, I've been running this website, danira.org.au, and once COVID hit, we created this kind of culture, arts, lifestyle site for, focused for older adults who would no doubt be locked away a lot longer than others. And so every Sunday I've got a show on there called Synchronicity, where we work with the Sydney Dance Company. And instead of just having, musicians playing live, we've coordinated with incredible dance artists.
Are you streaming that, Alan?
Yes. So that's this Sunday. I'll just give you a little thing there if you want.
Oh,
Actually,
I've just posted it.
Yeah, I'd love to. We love kind of crashing together sometimes traditional music with contemporary dance, or new music with traditional dance. And we just like kind of unconventional, unorthodox kind of collaborations between Sydney Dance Company and lots of different artists. So this week we've got flamenco mixed with mysticism and celebration from an oud player up in Byron Bay called Shai Shriki. It's going to be pretty interesting.
Sounds like my cooking show.
And then last
And
week,
we do have cookie show. You know what we've got coming up next, mate? We've actually got cabaret and creme brulee.
Oh, I love it.
Alliteration. Gotta love it.
so Ilan, you had a friend of ours on last week, Nikki Curder.
Oh, Nikki,
Yeah,
well, we just did a show together. I got her on my show on Danira, and it was fantastic.
Yes.
Nikki's been here twice in the studio singing with us live. So
Oh,
yeah.
man. I
Yeah.
love
Can I give you another recommendation? I saw last Sunday, he does the Sunday sessions, is Andrew De Silva, am I right?
Yep. Andrew De Silva from CBD.
Yeah.
What a talent that guy is.
Yes.
What an absolute beautiful talent he is. So
Yeah.
Sunday sessions, if you're looking.
Peter, you mentioned Nathan Cavalieri and how he brought you into the green room and really engaged with you. I think just to pick up, I know we're closing off here, but something that KL said about her artists and about how they have to be, on socials and managing that site, because she's just not involved in that. It is about engaging. And that's why artists need to be doing it, because your manager is not supposed to engage with your fans. You are. Yeah. And if there is Dave Reynolds, I see there's a great question. I know Dave from Melbourne. We were in Afghanistan together, actually, with a band over there for a sec. He's got a young kid, Lockie, who I take for songwriting lessons occasionally. His question was, the impact that the arts funding cuts have had on young artists and everything like that. Well, obviously, just to bring the young artist idea into it, you do have to manage yourself somewhat. You can't have expectations too high on something that someone else will do for you. Rob is a great example of someone who's just got off his ass and just learnt stuff and just learn. It's not just about learning logic. It's not just about learning your instrument. Unfortunately, it does have to do with a really peculiar set of skills.
We have talked about this many times on this show. And one of the questions that I did ask was, in the early days, is how much do you rely on the government? And most of the people that we interviewed went none. I mean, you've got to get to them where, as I say, we are resilient people. We've learned how to do stuff ourselves. And so if you're a young artist, you've got to figure it out yourself, man, because nobody else is going to help you. Or you can have as much pack that you like me, walk into a manager's office with all the information that makes it so easy for them, and they might just go, I just don't know what to do with you.
First step, though, be true to your art, as KL was saying. That's the first step.
The other thing I want to is bringing up, keep your eye out for passive incomes, because if you're an artist from the 80s or whatever, let's just take that for an example, and you own your own artwork, like album art, whatever. There's so many. Like I'm doing merch for our cover band now, and it's just like, it's a passive income. You upload the artwork, you pick the things you want it printed on, and it drops ships directly from. I'm using Redbubble, so you don't have that capital outlay for your merchandise to print 100 t-shirts or 200 t-shirts, and then you have to post them out. You can just design your artwork, bang, bang, bang. If you're capable of that, upload it, pick your thing. And then every time you make $20, they put it in your bank account, and they send it out, and the quality's great. They're
that's awesome.
Yeah,
so
it's just always trying to find those things. Yeah,
so important. I mean, for me, many years ago, when I wasn't touring, while I wasn't touring, I was doing what they call library production albums, and I have a dozen of them out, and they still to this day bring me in a royalty. And occasionally one will get picked up by a Canadian electricity company, and it'll be used on their campaign for 6 months.
Peter,
so
when we
never know how it's gonna work. Look, Tandy, is there anything else? You're muted. You're muted, Tandy.
I've got it. KL. So KL's suggestion. Yes.
What was the question?
Your question about an artist or something to watch live stream.
Any recommendations?
Lizottes, of course.
Lizottes. I mean, we've got, there's the 100 capacity ticket sales, which fly out the door straight away. And we've got we've got streaming for not all shows, but where possible we can. We've got Glen Shark this weekend. There's a burlesque show coming up in a couple of weeks. So, that's really different. I think we'll give Pornhub a run for their money, finally. Joking there. We've got Mossy coming up, Felicity and Limbo Hotel, and a whole heap. And the thing is with us with streaming at Lizottes, we've got the infrastructure built now. It's invested. Even when COVID's gone, it's going to stay. Reason being, it's not just about COVID. It's about those people that live in Burke or Timbuktu that ain't going to get any of these artists come through their town ever, that they can dial in and have one of these quality artists right in their lounge room with the highest quality audio visual. So it's reaching mass audience in Australia, New Zealand. Don't get me started on APRA with geo-blocking overseas. That's a whole nother session. And it's incremental revenue for the artists as well, and fans. And we've got a little merch icon that's going onto the screen, so you can kind of just click on that and go straight to the artist merch site as well. So we're really proud of what we've built, and we're going to continue it in years to come.
Fantastic.
Great. Thank you, everybody. It's been great to have you all here, and great conversation. I wish we could keep going, because I now only feel right now we're starting to get into it, but we are going to try and keep it to the hour. That's what we all need. I've been off the alcohol since the beginning of September, and I'm starting to get to the stage where I really need a beer.
Tomorrow's day 500 for me, Pete.
That's amazing, man.
Wow.
Amazing.
500. That's insane. Great.
Well,
fantastic.
You're a better man than I, Gunga Din. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. We are here every week at 8 o'clock on Tuesdays. We have the ISO gigs on Thursdays at 8 o'clock. This week is going to be a beauty. We also have a great gig at the Brass Monkey on Saturday night with Virginia Lely, Dario Bortolin, and Fab and Tanti will be there as well. And we're going to try and stream some of that.
For that one.
Yeah, keep an eye for that one, because that's going to be a beauty. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here, everybody. We will stay online, and I'll close up here. That might take me about 3 goes today, but bear with me. And thank you so much, everybody, for being here.
Thank
you,
everyone.
Thanks.
See ya.